My name is Marianne Foster. I'm 60 years old, and 3 years ago I lost my husband of 34 years to cancer. People told me to try online dating. You're still young, they said. You deserve companionship. So I did. And I met David. He was kind. Attentive. He remembered the little things I told him. For 6 months, he made me feel seen again. And then he asked for money. $15,000 for emergency surgery. My friends said send it. He loves you, Marianne. He's in trouble. But something in my gut said no. So I didn't send the money. I sent something else. A private investigator. And when the report came back, I learned the truth. David didn't exist. And the man behind the screen had done this to 42 other women. But I was going to be the one who stopped him. Let me take you back to where it all started. 3 years before I met David, I was sitting in hospice room 214 at Mercy General Hospital, holding my husband Thomas's hand as he took his last breath. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. They gave him 6 months. He lasted 4. We'd been married for 34 years. High school sweethearts. 2 kids. 4 grandchildren. A lifetime of inside jokes and Sunday morning pancakes and arguments about who forgot to close the garage door. And then he was gone. Just like that. The bed was empty. The house was quiet. And I was alone for the first time in my adult life. The first year was survival. I went through the motions. I showed up to family dinners. I smiled at the right times. I said I'm doing okay when people asked, even though I wasn't. The second year was slightly better. I started gardening again. I joined a book club at the library. I volunteered at the animal shelter on Tuesday afternoons. But the loneliness never really left. It just learned to sit quietly in the corner, waiting for the moments when I'd forget it was there. And then it would remind me. Late at night. Early in the morning. Anytime I reached for my phone to text Thomas something funny and remembered he wasn't there anymore. My daughter Jennifer visited one Saturday afternoon in early September. She found me sitting on the back porch with a cup of tea, staring at nothing. She sat down beside me and took my hand. "Mom," she said gently, "have you thought about dating again?" I looked at her like she'd suggested I climb Mount Everest. "Jenny, I'm 60 years old. Who's going to want to date a 60-year-old widow?" She squeezed my hand. "Someone who deserves you. Someone who sees how amazing you are. And Mom, you're not old. You're vibrant. You're funny. You deserve companionship. Dad would want that for you." I thought about it for weeks. The idea felt strange, almost disloyal. But the truth was, I missed having someone to talk to. Someone who cared about the small details of my day. Someone who noticed when I got a haircut or tried a new recipe. So on a Tuesday evening in late October, I created a profile on Silver Connections, a dating site for people over 50. I used a recent photo from Jennifer's wedding where I looked happy and natural. I wrote a simple bio. Retired librarian. Love books, gardening, and my grandkids. Looking for friendship, maybe more. Let's talk about everything and nothing. I got a few messages. Most were generic. Hey beautiful from men whose profiles had no photos. Copy-pasted compliments that felt hollow. But then, 3 weeks later, I got a message from David Thompson. His profile photo showed a handsome man in his early 60s with salt and pepper hair, kind eyes, and a warm smile. He was standing on a beach somewhere, hands in his pockets, looking relaxed and genuine. His message was different. "Hi Marianne, I loved what you said about talking about everything and nothing. That's exactly what I'm looking for too. I'm David, recently widowed, trying to figure out this whole moving forward thing. If you're open to it, I'd love to hear about your favorite book. Mine changes every week, but right now it's Lonesome Dove. What's yours?" I smiled. He'd actually read my profile. He was asking a real question. So I wrote back. I told him my favorite book was To Kill a Mockingbird, and we spent the next 2 hours messaging back and forth about literature, about loss, about how strange it felt to be starting over in our 60s. David told me he'd lost his wife Emily to a car accident 2 years ago. He was a civil engineer, worked on bridge construction projects. He had one daughter, lived in San Francisco, and was learning how to cook because Emily had always handled that. He was charming, thoughtful, real. We messaged every day after that. Good morning texts at 7:30 a.m. Good night messages at 10 p.m. He asked about my grandchildren and remembered their names. He sent me pictures of his failed cooking attempts, burnt lasagna, lumpy mashed potatoes, and made me laugh. He called me on weekends, and we'd talk for hours. His voice was warm and steady. He asked me about my day, my dreams, the books I was reading. He told me about his projects, his daughter, his hopes for the future. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than grief. I felt hope. About 2 months in, David started talking about visiting. I'd love to meet you in person, Marianne. Maybe I could fly out to Portland for a weekend? We could have dinner, walk through that rose garden you told me about. I said yes. I was nervous but excited. We set a date for mid-January. But then, a week before he was supposed to visit, he called me sounding stressed. Marianne, I'm so sorry. There's been a problem with one of my projects. A bridge inspection found structural issues, and I have to stay in California to handle it. Can we reschedule for February? I understood. These things happen. We rescheduled. February came. Same thing. The project is taking longer than expected. I'm devastated, but I can't leave right now. Then March. Then April. By the 5th month, I started feeling uneasy. We'd been talking every single day for 5 months, but we'd never met in person. We'd never video called. Every time I suggested FaceTime, he had a reason. His camera was broken. He was on a work site with bad internet. He'd just woken up and looked terrible. Always an excuse. But his messages were so consistent, so genuine, that I pushed the doubt away. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe he was just camera shy. Then came the morning of June 8th. I woke up at 6:47 a.m. to a text message from David. My heart sank the moment I read it. Marianne, I'm in the hospital. I had chest pains last night and drove myself to the ER. They're saying I need emergency heart surgery. A triple bypass. They want to operate tomorrow, but my insurance won't cover it all. I need $15,000 by tonight or they'll cancel the procedure. I don't know what to do. I don't have anyone else to ask. Please, Marianne. I know this is a lot, but I'll pay you back as soon as I recover. I promise. I sat up in bed, my phone shaking in my hands. $15,000. Emergency surgery. Tomorrow. Something about the message felt off. The urgency. The specific amount. The desperation. I'd known David for 6 months. We talked every day. He made me feel valued and seen. But we'd never met. We'd never video called. And now he was asking for $15,000. I called him immediately. No answer. I called again. Voicemail. I texted, David, call me, please. I want to hear your voice. He texted back, I can't talk right now. I'm prepped for pre-surgery tests. Please, Marianne. I need you. I got out of bed and paced my bedroom. My instincts were screaming. Something was wrong. But what if I was wrong? What if David really was in the hospital, really needed help, and I abandoned him? My friend Carol called me around 9 a.m. for our usual Tuesday coffee catch-up. I told her everything. Marianne, she said gently, send him the money. If he loves you, if he's real, he'll pay you back. And if you don't send it and something happens to him, you'll never forgive yourself. Another friend, Susan, said the same thing. He's been there for you for 6 months. Now it's your turn to be there for him. But I couldn't shake the feeling. So I did something I'd never done before. I opened my laptop and searched, online dating romance scam warning signs. And there it was. A checklist that felt like it was written specifically about David. Never meets in person. Always has an excuse. Professors love quickly. Eventually asks for money. Emergency situation. Specific dollar amount. I felt sick. I kept reading. Article after article. Testimonies from women just like me. Widows. Divorcees. Lonely women in their 50s and 60s who'd been scammed out of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of dollars. By men who didn't exist. I sat at my kitchen table for 2 hours, staring at my phone. David had sent 3 more messages. Marianne, please. I'm running out of time. They're going to cancel the surgery. I thought you cared about me. Each message felt like a knife. But I didn't send the money. Instead, I typed one word back, okay. Then I opened Google and searched, Private Investigator, Portland, Oregon. I found a firm called Truthfinders Investigations. The reviews were good. I called the number. A man answered on the second ring. Truthfinders, this is Marcus Chen speaking. I explained everything. The 6 months of messages. The cancelled visits. The sudden emergency. The money request. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said calmly, Marianne, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Do not send that money. What you're describing is a textbook romance scam. I specialize in these cases, and I can help you. But I need you to trust me and not engage with him anymore until I've done some digging. Can you do that? I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Yes, I whispered. Okay. Send me everything you have. Every message, every photo, every detail. I'll get started immediately. I forwarded Marcus every text, every email, every photo David had ever sent me. I gave him David's phone number, his email address, his dating profile link. Marcus said he'd have preliminary findings within 72 hours. Those 3 days were agony. David kept messaging. Marianne, why aren't you responding? Did you send the money? Please, I'm scared. I didn't respond. I just watched the messages come in, each one more desperate than the last. And then, on the evening of June 11th, Marcus called. Marianne, I need you to sit down. I Saturday. My heart was pounding. The person you've been talking to is not David Thompson. The photos he sent you are stolen from a man named Richard Paulson, a real civil engineer in Seattle who has no idea his photos are being used. The phone number traces back to a burner app registered in Lagos, Nigeria. The email account was created 6 months ago, the same week he messaged you. Marianne, this is an organized operation. And you're not the only victim. I felt the room tilt. What do you mean I'm not the only victim? Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. I found evidence of at least 42 other women who were contacted by accounts using similar language patterns, similar photos, similar stories. All women over 50. All widowed or divorced. All scammed out of money ranging from $5,000 to over $100,000. Marianne, this isn't just one person. This is a romance fraud network. And they're very, very good at what they do. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. For 6 months, I'd believed David was real. I'd believed he cared about me. I'd believed I'd found someone who saw me, who valued me. And it was all a lie. Every word. Every message. Every I love you. Marcus continued, Marianne, I know this is devastating. But here's what I need you to understand. You did nothing wrong. These scammers are professionals. They study psychology. They know exactly what to say, when to say it, how to make you feel special. You're not stupid. You're not gullible. You're human. And they exploited that. I wiped tears from my face. What do I do now? Marcus didn't hesitate. We go to the FBI. Romance fraud falls under their jurisdiction, especially when it's international. I have contacts at the Portland field office. I can set up a meeting. But Marianne, I need to know, are you willing to help take these people down? I thought about the 42 other women. I thought about every widow, Every lonely person who'd been manipulated the way I had been. I straightened my shoulders. Yes, I said firmly. I want to help. 3 days later, I walked into the FBI's Portland field office. Marcus met me in the lobby and walked me upstairs to a conference room. Waiting inside was Agent Sarah Mitchell, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who specialized in cyber fraud. She shook my hand and gestured for me to sit. "Mrs. Foster, thank you for coming in. Marcus has briefed me on your case, and I want you to know, what happened to you is happening to thousands of people every single year. You're doing the right thing by coming forward." I told her everything. She took notes. She asked clarifying questions. Then she opened a laptop and showed me something that made my stomach drop. A spreadsheet. Rows and rows of names. Women's names. Ages ranging from 48 to 76. Dollar amounts. $5,000. $12,000. $30,000. $85,000. Some women had been scammed multiple times. One woman, a 72-year-old from Minnesota, had lost her entire retirement savings. $214,000. Gone. This, Agent Mitchell said, tapping the screen, is what we've been able to trace so far from this particular network. We believe the operation is run out of West Africa, likely Nigeria, by a group that specializes in targeting older women in the United States. They use scripts, templates. They run multiple personas at once. David Thompson is just one of dozens of fake identities they're operating. And Marianne, you're one of the lucky ones. You didn't send the money. I looked at the names on that spreadsheet and felt rage. Pure, focused rage. How do we stop them? Agent Mitchell leaned forward. We need your cooperation. We need you to keep engaging with David. Keep the conversation going. Let him think you're still considering sending money. We need him to slip up. Give us more information. IP addresses. Bank account details. Anything that helps us build a case. Can you do that? It felt like walking back into a nightmare. But I nodded. I can do that. For the next 6 weeks, I played along. I responded to David's messages. I told him I was trying to get the money together. I asked questions. Where should I send it? What bank? What account? And slowly, carefully, David gave me details. Account numbers. Names. Wire transfer instructions. Every single piece of information I gathered, I forwarded to Agent Mitchell. And every night, I went to bed feeling like I was drowning. But then, on July 23rd, Agent Mitchell called me at 8:14 a.m. Marianne, we got them. International Task Force coordinated with Nigerian law enforcement. 6 arrests. We shut down the operation. It's over. I sat down on my kitchen floor and cried. Not from sadness. From relief. From vindication. From the knowledge that no one else would get a message from David Thompson ever again. Agent Mitchell invited me to a debriefing meeting 2 weeks later. When I walked into that conference room, I wasn't alone. There were 11 other women there. Women who'd been scammed by the same network. Linda, a 54-year-old nurse from Ohio who'd lost $18,000. Barbara, a 66-year-old teacher from Texas who'd lost $42,000. Rachel, a 59-year-old accountant from Florida who'd caught on before sending money, just like me. We sat in a circle and shared our stories. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I didn't feel alone. I felt seen. Understood. Validated. Linda looked at me across the table and said, "You stopped them, Marianne. You're the one who went to the FBI. You're the reason they got caught." I shook my head. We stopped them. All of us. By talking about it. By refusing to stay silent. That's when the idea hit me. What if we didn't stop talking? What if we turned this pain into something that could help others? 2 months later, I launched a podcast called Love, Lies, and Lessons Learned. Every episode featured a different woman's story. We talked about how we were targeted, what red flags we missed, how we recovered. We brought on experts, FBI agents, psychologists, private investigators like Marcus, to educate listeners on how to protect themselves. The response was overwhelming. Within 3 months, we had over 200,000 downloads. Women from all over the country reached out, sharing their own stories, asking for help, thanking us for making them feel less ashamed. I also started working with a non-profit called Scam Shield, an organization that provides resources and support for fraud victims. I became a volunteer educator, giving talks at senior centers, community groups, and churches about online safety. I taught people how to recognize scams, how to protect their information, how to trust their instincts. And every single time I spoke, I saw myself in the audience. Women who just wanted connection, who'd been brave enough to try again, who deserved better than what they got. One afternoon, about a year after everything happened, I received an email from a woman named Grace. She was 63, recently widowed, and had just started talking to a man online who seemed wonderful. But something felt off. He'd cancelled their first meeting. He didn't want to video chat. And now he was asking for money to help his sick mother. "I remembered your podcast," she wrote. "And I didn't send it. I called the police instead. They traced the account. It was a scam. Marianne, you saved me. Thank you." I read that email 3 times. And I realized something. David, whoever he really was, had tried to take something from me. My money. My trust. My sense of safety. But he didn't succeed. Instead, I took something from him. His power. His secrecy. His ability to hurt people without consequences. I turned my pain into purpose. My shame into strength. My isolation into community. I think about that morning in June when I got David's message. The moment I had to choose between my heart and my instincts. And I'm so grateful I chose the latter. Because trusting myself, even when it was hard, even when it hurt, saved me. Not just from losing $15,000. But from losing something far more valuable, my belief in my own judgment. I'm 63 now. I still volunteer. I still do the podcast. I still help women navigate the terrifying, beautiful, complicated world of online dating. And yes, I eventually tried again. I met someone real. Someone kind. Someone who showed up. His name is Paul, and we met at a book club, in person, where I could see his face and hear his laugh and know, without a doubt, that he was real. We've been dating for 8 months now. We take things slow. We talk about everything. And when he says, "I love you," I believe him. Because I learned something important through all of this. Love shouldn't ask you to ignore your instincts. Love shouldn't require blind faith. Love shouldn't make you feel like you're crazy for asking questions. Real love shows up. Real love is patient. Real love doesn't ask for $15,000 after 6 months of messages. Real love meets you in person, looks you in the eyes, and proves, every single day, that it's worth trusting. My name is Marianne Foster. I'm 63 years old. I almost lost $15,000 to a man who didn't exist. But instead, I found something more valuable: my voice, my strength, my purpose. And I used it to help 42 other women reclaim theirs. David tried to make me a victim. But I refused. Instead, I became a survivor. And then I became something even more powerful: a protector. For every woman who's ever been lonely enough to hope. For every person who's ever been kind enough to trust. For everyone who deserves better than a beautiful lie. We deserve the truth. And we deserve to be heard. And I'm never going to stop speaking.